All right, final round, 5.4D. We're looking at personality disorders today. So let's finish the job with personality disorders. These are all the personality disorders we got to know. 10. 10 different personality disorders. They're all covered by the AP psychology curriculum. So a personality disorder, you can probably guess what that means. It's an enduring pattern of internal experience and behavior that deviate markedly from cultural expectations, are pervasive and inflexible. They begin in adolescence or early adulthood. They're stable over time, and they lead to significant personal distress or impairment, dysfunction. So we got 10 personality disorders to discuss. Personality disorders come in three different clusters, cluster A, B, and C. Okay, three of them are in cluster A here. Hmm. Excuse me. So cluster A personality disorders are related to odd, strange, eccentric behaviors and thinking. Okay, so paranoid, schizoid, and schizotypal. Paranoid personality disorder, you can probably guess what that means. It's somebody who's a little too paranoid. It's characterized by pervasive distrust and suspicion of others, interpreting their motives as malevolent, leading to significant interpersonal difficulties and isolation. You're constantly suspicious and distrustful of others. You think other people are lying, cheating, or plotting against you, even without proof. My coworkers are trying to get me fired. If you're a little too, I mean, everyone's a little paranoid sometimes, but if you're constantly way too paranoid, you want to get checked out for paranoid personality disorder. It's going way against the norm. So personality disorders are pretty much people who are have extremely different personalities, and they can't be explained by any other disorder. So we just call them personality disorder, and we just describe what it is, like paranoid personality disorder. Pretty simple. Yeah. Schizoid personality disorder is characterized by a pervasive pattern of detachment from social relationships and a restricted range of emotional expression, flat affect, kind of, leading to a preference for solitary activities and limited interest in forming close relationships. You don't really like close relationships. You're really bad at expressing your emotions. You almost don't do it at all. You have kind of flat affect, but not to the extreme of someone on the schizophrenic spectrum disorder, but just a bit much. Not totally schizophrenic, but you're like halfway schizophrenic would be the schizoid personality disorder. You prefer to be alone. You don't want relationships. You're emotionally cold or detached. So it's good to think about schizoid personality disorder in this regard, that just like a loner who just doesn't want or need any friends. Uh, doesn't mean they're depressed. They're just not interested in that sort of thing. Schizoid personality disorder, bad with emotions, bad with social relationships, or just not even wanting them. Schizotypal personality disorder is characterized by acute discomfort in close relationships, cognitive or perceptual distortions. So again, like a little schizophrenic, but not all the way, and eccentric behaviors, often leading to significant social and interpersonal difficulties. So a schizotypal personality disorder, person with it might have odd beliefs, thoughts, or behaviors. It's almost like a mild schizophrenia. They kind of have, they're a little delusional, they might sort of hallucinate, but they're not fully schizophrenic. Schizophrenic is like what you think of when you think of a crazy person or a psycho. Schizotypal is like they're a little schizophrenic. They're a little weird. They have a little delusions. They have a little hallucinations. They might believe they're magical or they have special powers. They're obviously very socially awkward if they believe this, right? I can sense people's thoughts if I focus my energy, would be an example of something that someone with schizotypal personality disorder might say. So again, schizoid is more of like loner. Schizotypal is more like delusions and hallucinations. They're both kind of on the verge of schizophrenia, but they're not all the way turned up. But they are obviously deviating from cultural norms. Cluster B personality disorders, we got four here, so that'll make seven, are characterized by dramatic, emotional, or erratic behaviors. I just like to remember the rhyme dramatic and erratic. Cluster B, dramatic and erratic. Dramatic and erratic. Okay, here they are. Antisocial personality disorder. This is when somebody does something bad and doesn't feel bad for doing it. It's characterized by a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others, often involving deceitful, manipulative, and unlawful behaviors, and a lack of remorse for these actions. So most people think antisocial means you don't like hanging out with other people. That's actually not what it means. Everyone's just using the word in the wrong way. Antisocial actually means you go against society. You're breaking the rules and you don't feel bad about it. There's no remorse or regret. So you disregard others' rights, you break the rules or laws, and you don't feel bad for it. There's no guilt. That's what antisocial means. It doesn't mean I like to be alone. I'm an introvert. That's not what antisocial means. It means you break the rules and you don't feel bad about it. You're anti-society. Antisocial? Then we got histrionic personality disorder. This is someone that is overly dramatic. It's characterized by excessive emotionality and attention-seeking behavior, including a need for approval and inappropriate seductiveness, often leading to difficulties in maintaining deep and meaningful relationships. This person thinks they are the main character in a movie or a performance or a play or a comedy. They crave attention and they often act overly dramatic or overly flirty. Emotions seem either too shallow or too exaggerated, mostly exaggerated because they're dramatic. They overreact to small things just to stay in the center of attention. So they're kind of just obsessed with being the center of attention. And again, it's like main character energy. They think they are the main character. They think they are, on the Truman Show. Um, Life is a stage, and they are the star performer. Histrionic personality disorder. Narcissistic personality disorder, characterized by a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others, often resulting in exploitative behavior and difficulties in maintaining healthy relationships. So this person, a narcissist, really just only cares about themselves. Like you can kind of see this behavior in a lot of different people, like even people that don't have narcissistic personality disorder. Like you can see narcissism, right? You know, narcissistic people that just like only talk about themselves and never ask you questions or ask you about your day or how you're feeling, but they just talk about themselves constantly. They're kind of narcissistic. And someone with a narcissistic personality disorder does that to the extreme. They have an inflated sense of self-importance, right? They think they are the best. They think they are amazing and incredible. And they're obsessed with trying to gain approval and admiration from others. And they cannot handle criticism, right? Because if they're criticized, then that means they're not perfect. And if they're not perfect, then that goes against their whole idea of themselves that they're a narcissist. They are perfect in their minds. So they struggle a lot with any kind of critique. They have no empathy or very little empathy for other people. I'm better than everyone. They should thank me for showing up. That's what a narcissistic personality disorder person might say. Thanks. Borderline personality disorder. This one's a weird one and it's very hard to define, but here we go. It's an instability in interpersonal relationships, self-image, and emotions, along with impulsive behaviors and intense fear of abandonment, often leading to significant distress and difficulties, dysfunction in daily functioning. Borderline personality disorder, so unstable emotions. I mean, you can probably think of a lot of people with unstable emotions, relationships, and self-image. So their self-image goes up and down. It's unstable. Their relationships are all over the place. It's a mess. Their emotions are everywhere. One minute they're happy and the next minute they're sad. They swing between love and hate. They fear abandonment. They might self-harm, or they might have intense outbursts. And here's an example of something that someone might say, don't leave me. I hate you for leaving me. I mean, I don't know. That's not that crazy, is it? Borderline personality disorder. It's kind of about relationships and emotional reactivity. Finally, cluster 3, these are our last 3 personality disorders. Cluster C is characterized by anxiety, basically, anxiety and fear. So here's our avoidant, dependent, obsessive compulsive personality. They involve patterns of social inhibition, submissiveness, and perfectionism. Okay, so fear, anxiety, and fear, cluster C. Avoidant personality disorder, you can probably guess what it means if you know what the word avoid means. Pervasive pattern of social inhibition, feelings of inadequacy, and hypersensitivity to negative evaluation, leading to avoidance of social interactions and a reluctance to engage in new activities. So it's kind of different from social anxiety disorder or depression. Uh, Similar to both of those things, but this one's a little bit different. Like you feel inadequate, that's like the depression, and you're hypersensitive to negative evaluation. Depressed people aren't really that sensitive to negative evaluation. Like they kind of expect it. They're depressed. They're negatively evaluating themselves. But avoidant personality disorder, you avoid everyone because you don't want to get any kind of negative evaluation. You're highly sensitive to other people's thoughts and feelings about you. And you, at the same time, you feel inadequate. You feel less than everyone else. So you're extremely shy, sensitive to rejection. Like you'll freak out or get really sad if you fail at something or can't do something or get rejected. Wants friends but avoids people due to a fear of embarrassment. Avoidant. They'll laugh at me, so I must stay home. Avoidant personality disorder. Dependent personality disorder is characterized by an excessive need to be taken care of, leading to submissive and clinging behavior and fears of separation. I mean, yeah, you might know somebody like this, resulting in a difficulty in making decisions without reassurance from others, right? So they're kind of just like weak. They depend on other people too much. They can't do anything on their own. Like someone who just always has to have a boyfriend or just has to have a girlfriend. They just can't deal with life alone. I mean, they're on track to have dependent personality disorder. When you're dependent, you can't do anything on your own. You just need help, and that's okay. So people are different. Dependent personality disorder feels hopeless without others. They need constant reassurance. They can't make decisions alone. I can't choose what to eat. What do you think I should have? And this kind of thing. You just can't make any decisions dependent. And finally, we got it's different from OCD, obsessive compulsive. We learned obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, this is obsessive compulsive personality disorder. So, how is it different? It's characterized by a pervasive pattern of preoccupation with orderliness, perfectionism, and control at the expense of flexibility, openness, and efficiency, leading to distress and dysfunction. So that sounds a lot like OCD. I think we'll talk a little bit. It's similar to schizoid and schizotypal. It's not full-blown schizophrenia. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder is not full-blown OCD. So like the distress and the dysfunction isn't as high. Like the symptoms aren't as strong, but they're there. So it's like you're halfway to having OCD. You're just like everything has to be in the right place. You're obsessed with order. You might be obsessed with cleanliness. You might be obsessed with certain thought patterns, but not to the extent of someone with full-blown OCD where it's like significantly interfering in their life. It's just weird and deviates from the norm in society. So obsessive compulsive personality disorder, like you can still go to school and have a job and everything with personality disorders because they're not like full-blown extreme disorders. They're just really different from normal, which makes everyone else a little uncomfortable and they want to label you something like this obsessive compulsive personality disorder. That's a wrap on all the disorders that we have to know. So thank you for going through all of that with me. We're gonna do a bunch of activities to solidify all these disorders and kind of learn how to differentiate them. But this is just the intro. So hope you learned something and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.